Okay, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome back to school with Education Technology here, our 2016 Speak Up release of our national results. My name is Julie Evans. I'm the CEO of Project Tomorrow, and as you can already see, I have some real celebrities here with me today for this congressional briefing. Give me a couple moments, and then I'm going to introduce them to you. I know you're going to be excited to hear from them. So we are excited to be sharing with you today some of the very latest research data from Speak Up about the use of education technology in schools. Once again, thank you for joining us, both here physically in Washington, D.C., and also to our virtual audience. We are live streaming this through our website, through YouTube, as well as through Facebook Live today. And so I know that we have an audience out there that's not just all around the country, but actually all around the world. So we're going to start off with a little bit of some introductory comments, and then we have some opening remarks that are going to be provided by my good friends from Blackboard, Katie and Tim, that are here with us today. I'm then going to share in kind of a back and forth format some of the research findings. Now, I hope that you each got a packet of information that was left on your seat here in Washington, D.C., because there's a lot more of the data research that is within the packet. We're going to be sharing just a couple of the highlights to set up what I consider to be my favorite part of the program, which is the conversation with our students and educators. So the whole purpose for the data today is really to sort of set up that stage for that conversation. So we're going to do a little bit of a back and forth, and most importantly, get their wisdom, their insights, their ideas about the state of education technology in our schools today. We will leave a little time, hopefully, for some questions from the audience, so please hold those as we get into the program itself. And then my good friend, Angela Baker from Qualcomm, is going to share with us some closing remarks to sort of sum up our program here for today. So let me go through and first introduce you to our panelists that are here. You're going to be hearing a lot more from them, but I want you to have an introduction as to who was here with us today. So Corey is here. Corey, wave to the crowd, is a 5th grader. Camden and Natalie are both 9th graders. Nice to have you both here. Going further down the road, Angelique is a 12th grader, and Jade is an 11th grader, and then John is a 12th grader as well. So we have a nice range of students that are going to provide their experiential knowledge with us. Then we also have Dr. David Sovine is here, who is superintendent of Frederick County. Nice to have you here, David. And then our good friend Mary Beth Luftglass is here as assistant superintendent for the Department of Information Technology from Fairfax County Public Schools. Good to have you here too, Mary Beth. So just a little bit about the organization that I represent. Project Tomorrow is a national education nonprofit group. We're particularly focused in on making sure that today's students are well prepared for the future. We happen to believe that the use of digital technologies is a fabulous way to make sure that students are well prepared. We're best well known for the Speak Up research project on digital learning. That is an annual survey that we facilitate where we collect the feedback from K-12 students, parents, teachers, administrators, and community members from all around the country. We use that data to be able to inform national briefings such as this and our national reports, but it also is a service that we provide to K-12 schools and districts. So K-12 schools and districts sign up to participate in Speak Up, and then we give back to them all their locally collected data, as well as the national data to use for benchmarking purposes. Speak Up is 100% a free service that we provide to schools and districts as part of our nonprofit mission. The types of questions that are on the Speak Up survey are about learning and teaching with technology. But in addition to that, we ask different audiences different questions. So we ask teachers about their professional development need. We ask leaders, such as Ms. Loveglass and Dr. Sovine, about the types of leadership challenges that they face. We ask parents about internet safety and the concerns that they have for their children using technology. And we ask all the respondents to talk to us about their vision for the ultimate school. And I'm really excited to share some of that data with you here today. Now, we also believe that rather than relying upon opinion, it's a good idea to actually use data to back up some of the insights or plans that schools and districts have, as well as state legislatures and even our federal policymakers. And so we believe very strongly in sharing the data widely. So we're happy to be here today to share this data with all of you, but I will at the end give you some information about where you can even get more data from us. So the data that I'm going to be sharing today is from Speak Up 2016. Last fall, we had the surveys open from the middle of October to the middle of January and collected about 514,000 surveys nationwide, making Speak Up the largest collection of authentic feedback from the actual users of technology that has ever been assembled. We are looking forward to Speak Up 2017, which opens up on October 16th and will be the 15th year that we have been polling K-12 students and providing that sort of information to the field. I do want to thank many of our sponsors that are here with us today. We are thrilled, as I mentioned before, that Blackboard is with us, and they will be making a few comments in a moment. We are also excited that Angela Baker is here from Qualcomm's Wireless Reach Initiative and will be talking as well. We're also thrilled to recognize our other sponsors, Rosetta Stone for Education, BrainPop, Apex Learning, and Dreambox Learning as well as Scholastic. We also have a number of partners that are with us here that represent some of our outreach efforts. We are excited that all of them have the opportunity not only to use the data, but then also to be part of our planning process. I recently conducted about 40 hours of phone interviews with our partners to get input for Speak Up 2017, so we greatly value their expertise and contributions as well. And of course, we'd also like to thank Senator Patty Murray from Washington State, who helped us procure this beautiful room for today's briefing. We are so excited to be here. Now, this is a very unusual classroom, per se, different than many other classes, because we allow tweeting in this classroom. So if you are a person that is using social media, you can please feel free to follow our particular handles and be able to share your insights as well with our virtual audience around the country. So with this now, I'd like to introduce to you Tim Aiken, who is the Chief Client Officer for Blackboard, and my good friend Katie Gallagher, who's the Director of Product Marketing for K-12 Teaching and Learning, to give us a few opening remarks. Katie and Tim, come on up.
Thanks, Julie, for not only for the introduction, but most importantly, really for the leadership that you've provided for the education community and within the education community for so many years. This is really a fun event for us to be here today. To hear from the panel, it's always great to get those direct insights, but this is really a celebration of partnership in education. The ability of a group to come together to really be able to drive change and impact in terms of enabling student success. And at Blackboard, we're focused constantly on how can we up our game relative to leveraging technology to enable student success. It's also a celebration about just the power of information. And more than ever today, it's critical that we actually have the right insights so that we can make the right decisions about how we're going to be able to impact our students and enable that student success. And it's a call for action in many ways as well. So as Chief Client Officer at Blackboard, I'm the advocate at the table for the students, the faculty, the administrators, the learners. I'm also a former teacher. And so when I go back to the first year that I taught, I read a book called A Life in School. And one of the interesting points that Jane Tompkin made in that book was this anxiety that you might feel as a teacher when you're in front of a classroom and you feel like when a student raises their hand, you have to have the right answer every time. And I felt that. But the other thing that Jane talked about in the book was the fact that most important was actually the whole educational experience and the journey that the students were on in ways that they would learn about themselves and that would change their lives. But in order to do that, you have to be well informed. You have to have a better understanding of what's changing? How do the students learn differently? How do they all not have that single way of approaching them? How do you deal with the parents and the different stakeholders and the partners that are part of that equation? How do you leverage technology in a way that's going to be helpful? So today is a call for action to us to take this information in the report and make sure that we're turning it into something that will be more impactful for our schools and for our students. And so when we were asked to make some opening remarks, which we're very excited to do, Julie said, we want somebody who can really speak intelligently about the actions that you're taking. So that's not me, which is why I'd like to introduce Katie Gallagher, who is really in the middle of the call to action that we've taken at Blackboard to really take the power of what you're doing and turn it into something impactful. So Katie.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here today. Blackboard truly values the insights from Project Tomorrow's annual survey. Understanding what today's students, parents, teachers, school leaders, and community members need to transform teaching and learning is crucial to our ability to serve K-12 education. From our partnership with Project Tomorrow, we've learned a great deal. Today's students have grown up in a world where the internet has always existed. They don't remember a time when they didn't have instant access to information at one's fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Most everyone is connected at all times, both good and bad. For example, right now, through social media, we feel personally connected through videos, photos, and harrowing stories of victims and heroes in the wake of Harvey and the coming Irma. From our ongoing collaboration with Julie, we know that today's parents have different expectations than ours did when we were in school. They don't want weekly printed classroom newsletters that sometimes make it home in their child's backpack. Quarterly report cards simply don't make the grade. Parent-teacher conferences once or twice a year just don't suffice. They expect instant access to what's happening both in and outside the classrooms of their students and how their children are performing in the modality that they choose, whether it be text, email, mobile notifications. Today's teachers want and need more to successfully engage students and to prepare them for the world in which we live today. Our students have only known this always-on world. They want to leverage technology in their learning. In fact, they do their own research all the time. I myself have 4 children that range in age from 6th grade through 11th grade this year. It's hard to keep track. And 3 of those are daughters who frequently wake me up in the morning with a YouTube video they expect me to watch and instantly learn how to do their hair in a new way that morning. In K-12, teachers have the uniquely difficult challenge of helping each student achieve or exceed the required competencies of each class or grade level, regardless of where the starting line was for that student. Educational technology provides a powerful pathway to help classroom teachers differentiate instruction and at scale to meet each student's needs. My dear friend, Paula Barr, a 2nd grade teacher and INACOL Teacher of the Year, completely transformed her classroom after over 30 years of teaching with blended learning. Through the power of educational technology and blended learning, instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, Sage on the Stage approach, in her classroom you'll now find that it's even hard to find where the front of the room may be. Her students are engaged all day, every day. They collaborate constantly. Sometimes they use devices, sometimes they're on whiteboards or easels. They even use pencil, paper, and crayons, just like regular 2nd graders. Sometimes they work individually or in small groups or even whole class instruction. But through blended learning, Paula has more time to spend one-on-one with her students and in small groups to ensure each of their needs are met. Her students are so engaged, this is not a joke, that they often are late to recess simply because they forget, and then they don't want to stop learning. They're so engaged. At Blackboard, we use Project Tomorrow's findings year over year to shape the development of our products, services, and solutions to better address the unique challenges of K-12 educators like Paula. For example, the digital divide. Not all students have internet access at home. So to help better address this challenge of digital inclusion, we've created offline interactive access for our platform so all kids can keep working and learning regardless of access. And thanks to Project Tomorrow, we know that kids have astounding levels of access to smart devices, even down to the kindergarten level, as do teachers. So we know that means that our solutions just simply must work regardless of device, hence our mobile-first design. A major theme that I'm sure that will emerge today in Julie's findings is that K-12 education is amidst major transformative change. Today's students, parents, teachers, school leaders, and community members, all who have a voice in the study, are navigating truly unprecedented times. At Blackboard, we're committed to being K-12 education's partner in change. And each year, Julie and Project Tomorrow's research and analysis helps us be a better partner in this transformative change. So thank you, Julie, and the entire Project Tomorrow team. We're extremely proud of our partnership with you, and we look forward to learning more from you today, as well as the panel of students and educators. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to my good friends from Blackboard. We've actually been partnering with Blackboard since 2006, and every year we create a very special digital learning trends report that we included for the first time this year in your packets. So thrilled to have that opportunity to do that as well. Okay, folks. Well, let's get into some of this data research because I want to be able to hear from our panelists. We took a slightly different approach with some of the data to share with you today. We're going to take a sneak peek into the day in the life of today's students. Now, we're going to actually hear from real live students. We brought real live students here. Did everybody realize that? Real live ones. But in the meantime, we're going to start off with a little bit of research data from our data set. And I want to give you a sort of a glimpse into what was the school of the past. So for some of us in the room, we may recognize a classroom such as this. I actually think I had that haircut, that one right here, for many, many years myself, that very famous bowl cut. But some things are interesting about this classroom. We may remember it has an actual chalkboard, which is interesting. The teacher is up at the front. I'm particularly struck by the fact she has a pointer as part of her instructional practice, the all-important pointer. Now let's look at a, shall we say, a modern classroom or a contemporary classroom that exists today. So we see some differences here. We may also see some similarities, though, in that classroom of the past. So some differences are that the students all appear to have devices and they are doing something on their devices while the teacher is providing some instruction. That chalkboard is gone. I see a whiteboard there. I also see a computer projection device. But we also see that the teacher is still in the front of the room. She doesn't have a pointer anymore, or at least we can't see it. So it may be that whereas we might look at this picture and see that there are differences, there are some physical differences, maybe some of the things that we're seeing are not really what we believe to be seeing. So we may see that there are some changes that still need to happen, some transformations that still need to happen to make sure that we are leveraging all this technology appropriately. So what types of technology is being implemented in schools today? We asked administrators to comment about the types of things that they're seeing in their classrooms or where they have made investments in their classrooms. So you see a wide range of different things here. We see videos are being used in the classroom more than ever. We're actually seeing, and Katie mentioned it, that schools are using social media to communicate with parents in different ways, to engage parents and things. We obviously see the use of mobile devices, whether that's tablets, laptops, Chromebooks, even smartphones are being used in class. I think even some Kindle Fires, right, Corey? Yeah. That's right, in Corey's school. Digital games, some online textbooks, and even some online classes are being implemented. So a wide range of different things. But we wanted to get underneath the hood a little bit with that and take a look and see, well, what does that actually mean for students today? So that we've implemented all of these different things, and maybe we're changing the way the classroom looks or feels. But what does that actually mean for the students? So what we did for you today, folks, is that we pulled out just data from middle school students. Now, you might remember what I shared before. We had about 514,000 surveys that were submitted as part of Speak Up 2016 435,000 of those were from K-12 students. 138,000 were specifically from middle school students in grades 6, 7, and 8. So let's take a little bit of a look into what it means to be a middle school student using some technology. We're going to start with the in-school experience. We actually found this year for the first time that middle school students are more likely to be using a Chromebook than using their own device. Only about a quarter of middle school students said that they're bringing to school their own device and using their own device. Now that's different in high school. 58% of high school students told us they're using their own device. The use of these mobile devices is both directed by the teacher in terms of the types of things that the teacher might be having going on in the classroom, but students are also self-directing their learning using these type of devices. They're doing some internet research, they are tapping into their peers for collaboration, they're receiving reminders and alerts on these devices about homework or tests or projects that are due. They may also be taking advantage of the fact that they're more connected to their teacher than ever before and emailing their teacher with questions or with ideas. I had one class in Chicago that the teacher told me that she gets emails from her students telling her about the types of things that they would like to cover in social studies the next day based on current events. So I thought that was sort of interesting. When we asked the students in middle school what class they would like to take online in a fully online or fully virtual class, their number one response was world languages. And so they'd like to see more world language. Secondly, computer science or coding programs. Students are using a wide range of different types of digital content and support tools in the classroom. We've seen a large explosion in terms of the use of the Google Suite for education, in terms of those type of tools. Students are also taking more online tests than they ever have before, and also using online textbooks. And in this particular idea of playing educational games, so games that have some sort of educational component, we actually see that about a third of girls and a little bit more than a third of boys in middle school say that they are playing some type of educational games weekly. It used to be that we saw gender differentiation between girls and boys in terms of game playing, but that now has erased. Particularly around educational games. And then when we ask the students to talk to us about the importance of using technology as part of their learning space, they talk about personalized learning. They talk about the opportunity to learn at their own pace, to be in control of learning, and the opportunity to extend that learning beyond the school day. Now, speaking of out-of-school time, these middle school students are highly connected. 77% of middle school students told us last year they have personal access to a smartphone, an internet-connected device that they could bring to school. They're obviously very involved with text messaging, as many of us are with our kids. But this particular group of middle school students told us that they're learning about current events and news of the world from texts from family and friends. So sort of their own support network of news, which we thought was interesting. The students also are using the internet as an all-purpose study guide. Look at these statistics. A third of middle school students told us that they are going out to the internet as a daily support tool for homework, not teacher-directed, on their own, on a daily basis. Over 2/3 are using it weekly. If you think that this is just something that we're seeing in middle school and high school students, actually 2/3 of upper elementary students told us they're using the internet weekly to help with homework as well. So they're obviously also connected. The types of things they're doing is that they're going out to websites to pursue information. They're using videos to learn how to do things. And I was particularly struck by a third of these middle school students told us that they are practicing writing skills with different types of online writing sites. This is 100% on their own, not teacher-directed or as a homework assignment. Now, about a third of these middle school students tell us that they're interested in a STEM career, but a larger percentage say that they might be interested in a science, technology, engineering, or math career if they knew a little bit more about it. So it sort of opens up that promise of providing them with some more information. They're exploring different careers through a number of different ways, watching maybe day-in-the-life videos, following experts on social media, or even playing an online game. I learned yesterday about an online game that has been produced by MIT that helps students experience science careers. And I thought that was sort of interesting from a gaming standpoint. These students like learning when they can be in control, and an interesting statistic, 58% told us they use technology more outside of school than they do inside of school for learning. For today's students, learning is a 24/7 enterprise. It just happens school is one part of that, but it's not the exclusive part of that anymore. Now, when we ask administrators about the challenges that schools face in using technology effectively, we get different responses from the administrators than we do from the students. The students tell us that school technology use is hampered by the internet being too slow. Now, what was interesting is that just 5 years ago, students were not telling us that. They were telling us that they wanted to use their social media tools, they wanted to bring their mobile devices to school. So we think that that's an indication of the fact that schools are using the internet more as part of instruction, and students are frustrated by the fact that maybe it's taking a little bit longer than they would like. They also believe that schools continue to block websites that they actually need for learning, not just social media, and that there's still too many rules, we'll ask the students about this, too many rules that prevent them from getting online when and where they want to. Now, as I said, administrators have a different set of challenges that they talk to us about. They talk to us about how do they motivate teachers to change their instructional practice? How do they rethink what teaching and learning should look like in the classroom to take advantage of technology? They're also concerned, and Katie mentioned this as well, about digital equity and the homework gap and the fact that some students may not have not just access, they may not have safe and consistent access to the internet outside of school in a platform that is appropriate for doing the types of rigorous homework and different types of project-based learning that we're expecting students to do. Schools are still stymied by making sure that they have access to enough computers and technology also to be able to support the types of things that teachers are doing in the classroom. And then there's that all-encompassing concern about student safety and privacy of student information. So I gave you a little bit of that glimpse into the middle school student in terms of the use of technology they're using, what types of technology we're seeing in the classroom, and then also some of these challenges. Now what I want to do is bring our panel into this and to get some particular insights from them. And so I'm going to start off right now with going to our administrators to get started, because I'd like to hear a little bit more about what's happening in their particular districts. And so I'm going to start with Dr. Sovine, please. If you could tell us, please, about Frederick County and a little bit of the types of technology that you've implemented within your schools, that would be fabulous.
Well, first of all, Julie, thank you. And I want to extend my appreciation for Project Tomorrow for multiple years now of helping us in Frederick County to inform us in terms of what are the best practices from our students as well as from our administrators and teachers. But as I mentioned, for many years now, we have used these survey results to inform and adjust our division technology plan and most importantly, looking at how we can best reach and serve our students. Through your feedback and using student feedback, we were able to, 4 years ago, implement a one-to-one initiative utilizing Chromebooks. And today we have Chromebooks in the hands of all of our students in grades 2 through, actually second grade through their senior year.
Oh, wow.
And it is through that work we are able to reach and provide engaging learning experiences for the students. But we also established practices in place where I have 2 of our wonderful Student Leadership Council members here. Throughout the course of the year, we have conversations where we as educators and teachers, we listen to our students so that we can best serve them and reach them in terms of addressing their technology needs and making sure that their learning experiences are real.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Dr. Sovine. I also should mention to the audience that Dr. Sovine was one of the superintendents that we recognized across the country last year in our inaugural group of very special superintendents in terms of their use of technology and driving their vision of technology in the district. So it's a true pleasure to have you here. Now, Mary Beth, you and I have spent a lot of time talking about technology in Fairfax. Mary Beth is part of our Speak Up Advisory Council, and so she provides input to us all the time to both help us with the analysis and also the development of the surveys themselves. But Mary Beth, tell our audience a little bit about some of the fabulous things going on in Fairfax County as well.
Sure. As I said, it's been an honor. We really have enjoyed working with Speak Up, and we have a long-term partnership, and we do use the information a lot for our planning purposes and professional development planning, as well as our technology planning. So in Fairfax, we have been a long-time BYOD district. So we've allowed our students to bring in their own devices for many, many years. We also have one-to-one in many of our schools. We have some of our folks here from Chantilly High School, and a number of our high schools and others have gone one-to-one as well. Digital Divide is a very important program for us, and we do actually offer all students that do not have devices, if they're not part of our one-to-one initiative. We have checkout programs as well as checkout programs with MiFi devices. So if they don't have internet at home, they can check out a device so we can ensure that our students have internet at home if they don't already have it. In addition to that, we have a full online campus, so our students have the opportunity for primarily high school courses to take online if they'd like to do that. We have a number of students for a variety of reasons that take courses online, whether it be our economic and personal finance course that we offer to many of our students, but we also offer a full program in our full curricular area, from PE to world languages to dual enrollment courses, et cetera, through our online program. So we had a lot of technology, and we enjoy it, and we find that our kids are more engaged when they have access to technology, and that our teachers have come a long way in terms of embracing the digital environment, from blended learning to our one-to-one initiatives, et cetera. So it's been great.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth. I want to get more into the outcomes associated with this in a moment, but I want to bring our students into this conversation. So students, here's a general question. Once again, if you want to share a response, give me a little wave or something, and I'll call on you. So talk to us a little bit about an example, or share with us some way that technology has impacted your learning, how you have used some type of technology, some type of digital tools to support your learning in a unique or special way, or something you'd like to share with the audience. Okay, Angelique?
Hi. So as she said, Chantilly is part of the one-to-one initiative, and so there we all have Chromebooks, and this has provided an equal opportunity for all students to have access to internet, and that has been a big change because some students don't have the ability to access internet. They don't have the ability or the gratefulness, I guess you could say, to have computers, and something we take advantage of every day. And so through this equal opportunity, all students are able to have an equal start to the future of their education, because we're living in a digital world where technology is not going anywhere. And they're learning how to use PowerPoint, how to use Microsoft Office, all this stuff that you use daily in your work environment. And you can also see students collaborating, which is something huge, something is so important, of getting to know the community and just getting to know each other's ideas. So that has something that has been really changed by the technology in our district.
Angelique, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, because I'm intrigued with the collaboration. And we see this in our data as well, that students say they're able to collaborate better. Do you have an example from a particular class in terms of where the technology helped you with collaboration?
Yeah, so before even the one-to-one program, we had the opportunity to use laptops that were given to our school. And in English class, it was the first time using Google Classroom, which is an online classroom for teachers to use to access at home and in school. And my teacher gave us this assignment where we were supposed to make a chopping presentation on a book assignment, which was The Book Thief. And I didn't really know anyone in my class, but we got into groups, and we were all able to access one PowerPoint to edit it, to share our ideas in, to pull videos and put it in our presentation, which I've never been experienced to, using Snagit and Google PowerPoint. And through the collaboration, we were able to make a beautiful presentation, which involved creativity, a lot of good information, a lot of ideas that I wouldn't have come up with if it was just on my own.
Fabulous. Thank you, Angelique. Some other examples, students. Anyone have anything else they'd like to share? John, go ahead.
So my name is John Dumoulin. I go to Forest Park High School in Prince William County. I'm part of the IT specialty program there at Forest Park. And through our program, we have 3 different strands. We have computer science, multimedia, and graphic design, and then networking. And through each different strand, students can use their computer skills and strengths that they've accompanied over the years and can finally put it to use in high school, broadening their learning for this love of technology that the way the world is going towards for all students that are in the program. And part of the ways that we use collaboration, I'm part of an independent study team. We call it the IT Dream Team at Forest Park. It's part of the best IT students in the school. And what we're using there is Microsoft OneNote and SharePoint and things like that to be able to work as a group and build projects for the school and give back to our community and our school and really enhance our learning and our skills and hopefully promote to all the students that come through our school and in the county. When you go to school to use the programs that are available for you, take advantage of that and be able to use the opportunities given to you, especially since technology is where we're going in the world and in the workforce. It's important that all students be able to get exposure to that technology. And the things we use with OneNote is we could have a project that we're all working on. All students from an individual computer can provide their contribution to one project through one file. It's incredible the things that we're able to do nowadays with technology in schools.
Thank you very much, John. Some other examples, students? Go ahead, Natalie.
One of the biggest things, especially at the high school level, I'm in 10th grade, and we use Google Classroom almost every day. We're given assignments, homework. Our teachers can reach out to us and send us messages about how to do our homework. My math teacher tells us every day, hey guys, homework is on Google Classroom, and we all just know how to use it. It's just super easy, and that is like one of the biggest things is, especially with the Chromebooks, is the accessibility of Google, and not just the search engine, but all the applications and things that come with it. Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets. We're able to utilize so many new things with the accessibility and efficiency of the Chromebooks. And that's so essential because of how prominent technology is becoming, especially in today's society.
So, go ahead, John. Another point? Yeah.
Another thing about the Google Classroom that's really nice about it, and also some of the other products they can use, is if a student is absent, it's a lot easier when this teacher is able to post the notes from that class or the assignments that they missed on something like Google Classroom. So that students can be a lot more prepared for when they come back to school, and they're not as behind when they are absent or miss. Especially if in some classes, if you are relying on your own notes, some students might not be as great of note takers as others are. So if the teacher can post notes on things like Google Classroom, then it gives them other opportunities outside of school to be able to go and review those notes and look over it several times straight from the teacher and the curriculum.
Okay, good input. Any other perspectives, students, that you want to share? How about in terms of obstacles that you face using technology? You know, I mentioned a couple things that the students had told us through the survey. Do you face any particular obstacles with using technology? Go ahead, Jade.
So as Angelique said, Chantilly is part of the one-to-one initiative. So every student has one laptop that they have. And with that is like a plethora of obstacles, like just anything you can think of will come up. And so they'll come to the technology specialists at our school. And Angelique and I are tech aides, which is like student helpers for these technology specialists. So when we see like computer fan errors, we see not being able to connect to the internet, which you mentioned before, and also just like problems getting onto Classroom, logging into the computers, logging into Blackboard, all that kind of stuff. So those are all obstacles that we face at Chantilly, but with all the help, we can combat them a little bit.
Okay, good perspective. Anything else, students, in terms of some obstacles? Angelique?
Some obstacles, I personally haven't faced, but what I've seen is just the obstacle of fear, especially with the teachers. Technology is something new, like I said, always changing. So teachers are a little scared to open the door and see what comes out at them. But in order to conquer this fear, you just have to conquer the fear of the unknown, because we're all going to know something that somebody doesn't, and vice versa. And so getting over the fear of not knowing, but being patient and open-minded to learn about it, to explore it, is what we as students and teachers need to do together.
Good perspective on that, Angelique. I want to ask our administrators that are here, from the survey, every year for the last couple of years, administrators have told us that their biggest challenge is motivating teachers to change their practice. Can you give us some insights, Dr. Sovine, on how you've been able to do that in Frederick County?
Well, I think,
or maybe a work still in process?
Yeah. Well, Angelique nailed it. It's the fear factor. And I know for us, using the survey results, it's pretty clear that we need to change some of our practices. And we've actually gone to an instructional technology coaching model where we have technology coaches within each school where we provide support for classroom teachers to build capacity and a comfort level so that when they're in the classroom and they see those opportunities to pull in and utilize technology, they feel comfortable that they have the skills to address and utilize those needs. As a division, our philosophy is, instructionally, we believe instruction drives everything. Technology is a tool, so utilizing our technology coaches to build capacity within our schools with our teachers really helps us to meet our students' needs.
That watchword is really capacity these days. I'm talking to a lot of superintendents that are talking about capacity of teachers, and I'm struck by a particular quote that I absolutely love. It's a Toffler quote that says, "The illiterate of the future," and I'm going to mess it up a little bit here, folks, so maybe on Twitter somebody can fix it for me. The illiterate of the future will be those that can't learn, unlearn, and relearn, and it's really about that capacity.
It is, and to share with you a model that we started a couple of years ago, we had it started with a student help desk, and it was led by students, and now it's at all three of our schools. But what we found from this student-led model that was designed for students to help other students, now our teachers see our student helper or help desk being a nice resource for them to go and ask questions along with the resource of the technology coaches. But having structures in place within the schools so that teachers and educators can partner with students is critical to the overall culture.
Yeah, I love that. Mary Beth?
One of the things I think we've learned over the years, we also have sort of the technology coach model in terms of having a school-based technology specialist in all of our schools. One of the things that we have learned that we have to really meet the teachers where they are. Not all teachers are at the same level. So we have a blended learning approach as well. So we have some of our learning modules that are available online so that teachers don't have to be pulled out of a classroom. We also have tried to embed our school-based technology specialists into our professional learning community. So when teachers get together as teams, they can have that technology, that coach being able to help them. And we also have found that we have teachers that have great best practices. So we're trying to do more of our lunch and learn in terms of being able to visit each other's classrooms, those kind of things where you can learn from other teachers that have developed innovative ways to utilize technology. So you sort of have to meet each teacher where they are. Some of our teachers are ready to just soar and continue on. We want to tap into those teachers that can help share their best practice with others. And then we have some teachers that are just at the beginning levels that we have to sort of handhold a little bit more. So it's not sort of a one-size-fits-all. You have to have sort of the online learning, the face-to-face learning, and then in terms of peer-to-peer learning, which has been we found is very powerful.
I love that, meeting teachers where they are and understanding what their readiness is.
Right.
All right, folks, both to the panel and to the audience, we're going to shift gears here now, and we're going to start talking about tomorrow. We've been talking about today, but I want to talk about an ultimate learning environment. So maybe that vision for what tomorrow can look like in the classroom and how education technology can help us get there. So I'm going to start with some research from the parent side. We asked parents, so what is your biggest concern about your child's future, or what do you worry about regarding your child's future? The number one answer that came up from parents is, I'm concerned that my child's not learning the right skills to be successful in the future. And that wasn't just parents of 12th graders that are getting ready to go out into the workforce or into college. It actually went all the way down into elementary school parents as well. And when we asked parents, so what's the best way for your child to develop these right skills, we're going to talk about those in a moment, they said using technology regularly within the school day. So parents are making the equation, or putting together an equation that looks at technology as helping to support students as they're preparing for the future, in particular for the world of work. Now, the students also talked to us about the different ways that they want to use technology to be able to be well prepared for the future. So they want that technology use to be purposeful. We heard that coming from several of the students, and I'm going to do some follow-up on that. They also like the idea of creating things, making things, inventing things, the idea of content creation, or maybe being even a tinkerer, is to use an older phrase. They also like it when the learning experience can be in a real-world setting, not just hypothetical, so that it really has a connection to either something that they're passionate about or something that's going to impact their lives. They, of course, like to use technology, but they also are focused in on learning that is self-directed and highly personalized to either what their passions are, what their interests are, the way they want to learn, the way they feel most comfortable learning. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from the students in terms of their thinking about this. Now, sometimes folks will say to me, well, you know, one of the problems with today's youth is they're not interested in learning. That can't be further from the truth. In fact, the students tell us they're very interested in learning. They're learning how to do things. They like learning how to do things. They like learning about new ideas. And they also believe that the use of technology is an important skill that they need for the future as well. So what does this ultimate future school look like? We're sort of at the crossroads between what is the future going to bring to us and where is our vision. It's sometimes hard to determine that. But one of my favorite questions on the Speak Up survey, and we ask it every year, and I hear all the time from administrators, it's one of their favorite questions as well, is that we ask all the respondents, the students, the teachers, the parents, and the administrators, to talk to us about the ultimate school. What types of technology would they like to see in that ultimate school? So we brought the top, I guess it's the top 7 responses that we heard this year. And there's a couple things that really struck me when I took a look at this list, and I also provide you with the percentages of the different audiences in terms of their responses. So for the most part, these are about tools. So tools to be able to help the learning. They are not learning on their own, but really tools to help facilitate that learning. So the students' number 1 response was the idea of being able to have some type of a mobile device that they could have access to. So a regular type of an experience, not a hit or miss or sporadic experience, but something that was really an everyday type experience. They also like the idea of having mobile apps to be able to support that learning experience, tools to help them create content, going back to that creation part, tools to help them organize themselves, and even to be able to track their own progress. So the portals for progress comes in there, the collaboration tools that we talked about before. Now, not all of the folks in our audience are on the same page with this. So in many cases, students are on the leading edge of thinking about these technologies for their vision of that ultimate school. But that's why this particular question on the Speak Up survey is so powerful, because it gives school and district leaders some insight into not only what are the types of tools that students believe are important for that ultimate school, but do parents believe that? And where are teachers in that perspective, and where are principals? So the students have a couple other things on their wish list that I felt I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you. They're not, the adults are not 100% on board on some of these already, but they're an interesting list, and so I wanted to honor the students' requests as well. The idea of games as part of a learning experience is something that comes up whenever we have conversations with students. The idea of in-class messaging, so some type of maybe hangouts or some type type of discussion opportunities so that students could facilitate even better collaboration with each other and collaboration with their teachers. Lots of interest with students around virtual reality, hardware and environments, and some really interesting things are starting to percolate up in our schools today. And then this idea of social media tools, greater use of social media tools. It's always fascinating to me to talk to students and they talk about the everyday popular types of social media tools that they're using, maybe for their own personal interactions, but then they're also using them for school purposes or for educational purposes. And then students, as I mentioned before, are particularly interested in online classes and those type of online learning experiences. So it comes back to this big question. So we know where we are today, and we've got some more work to do with our teachers. What is it that teachers say they need to be able to get there? So these were the top 4 that came up from teachers this year. Professional development that focuses on integration of these tools into the curriculum. Planning time with colleagues so they can better understand what are the best uses of these type of digital tools. Once again, a device for every student to use and some way to solve this digital equity homework gap crisis where students don't have access at home. And then the idea of just-in-time technology support that may be offered in a number of different ways are the things that teachers are saying that they need. So I want to bring back in our panel here. I have a couple additional questions for them, and then we're going to open it up to a little bit of time for some of your questions. So you might want to start thinking about your questions as we get started. So one of the things that we saw, both in the data and actually came out in our initial conversation here that I was struck with, is the importance of learning how to use technology. Now, we have somewhat of an expert here in the room, and I bet most of us here in the room don't realize this. But John recently won a very significant recognition. And I'm going to make sure I get this right, John, or I know you're going to correct me. So Microsoft Office Specialist exams are very special exams. They are testing students, both in high school, increasingly in high school, overwhelmingly in college and in different trade preparation programs, about the use of the different Microsoft Office products. Project Tomorrow has actually done a number of evaluation studies about how to prepare students for the MOS exams, the Microsoft Office Specialist exams. So I was particularly struck when my good friends in Prince William County Schools sent us this news release that told us that John brought home the first Champions Trophy for Excel 2016. This is a worldwide championship. Yeah, so I think John knows a little bit about how to use Excel. What do you think? I know that I've already, congratulations, John. I've already marked it down. I feel like I'm a pretty good Excel jockey myself, but I know now who to call if I have a question. So obviously, technology skills are something that's important here. So I'm going to start with John, but then the rest of the panel, please enter in. So why do you think students having technology skills, knowing how to use these type of tools, do you think that's important for all students? And if so, why, John?
Well, like it was said, I did win a world championship in Microsoft Excel. That started at the school and from personal interest as well. I'm a baseball player and I'm really involved with baseball statistics. I watch the Major League Baseball Network every night. So my love for statistics and my love for technology was able to be used at Forest Park to take the Microsoft Excel certification test, which I achieved the highest score in the state of Virginia. Then went on to Orlando, Florida, and competed against the nation's best from each state champion in a spreadsheet making competition for like a sample company, and I came out on top there. And then went to Anaheim, California to compete against the world's best, represent the United States, and I ended up bringing home the trophy. That opportunity came from me from being able to learn different skills that people in the workforce are using every single day. I bet you that you could go to almost every single business and some way, shape, or form they're using Microsoft Excel, maybe Access, and I would say definitely PowerPoint and obviously Word. Those sort of skills have helped me and set myself up to where I know that I'll be prepared in the workforce for the future. And those are the types of things that students, if they have the access to technology, not only with just Microsoft products, but with every single product, it separates them, it distinguishes them against their competitors in the workforce. But not only, if everyone is competing to be good at this technology, then it makes our community a better place and stronger in our youth and for tomorrow's workforce. So it's extremely important for all students to be able to get exposure and the opportunity to learn different skills such as Microsoft, or being able to put computers together and working with cybersecurity and things, any sort of technological lines. You'll be able to carry yourself into a great career in the future and set yourself apart. So.
Good. Thank you, John. So let me poll our students here. Do you agree with John's opinion that having good technology skills is a good way to prepare yourself for the future? If yes, raise your hand. Okay. Second question. That was kind of a homework question, wasn't it? Second question. Do you believe that the ways that you are afforded in your school, the opportunities you have to use technology, are they helping you develop good technology skills? If so, raise your hand. Okay. All right. Can someone give me another example of how you're using technology to help you develop some technology skills? Natalie, go ahead.
I take a computer informations class. Last year I took the first half of it, and this year I'm taking the second. It's called CIS, Computer Information Systems. And it's all about exactly what John said. It's how to use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Access. And I also took the certification test, and I'm certified in Excel and Word and PowerPoint. I'm not a world champion, but...
Not yet.
But
Always
it's
next year.
next year. It's incredibly important to get these skills and learn how to use these internet applications, because these are the most prominent things, especially in the world today. I bet if we asked the audience, how many of you use Excel and Word and PowerPoint in your daily life and in your job? It's one of the biggest things, and it's incredible that we're learning it now, as young as we are. It's just so important for the teachers and administrators to instill these traits and abilities in us at such a young age.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. So in terms of, you saw my list of the ultimate school kind of wish list. It started off with mobile devices, it included mobile apps, it included some collaboration tools and organization tools. For the students first, and then I'm going to come to the administrators. What's on your wish list? If you were creating the ultimate school, what would you put into that school? Go ahead, John.
I've been very fortunate to be able to go out and travel to many foreign countries and experience educational trips there, as well as just vacations. But I've always said that when I went to these countries, I was able to learn more about the country just by being there and the environment than just reading about it in a textbook. I can get so much more from it just being submerged in the environment. So, like the list that they showed, the concept of virtual reality, it's an up-and-coming thing. Not very many people are extremely familiar with it, but the idea is just if we were able to somehow think about different, like in a history class, let's say, for an example, Jamestown. If you're wanting to learn about Jamestown, instead of reading about it in a textbook, why not be able to put the goggles on like you saw there and look around the room and you see 1609, 1607 Jamestown and what it was like there. Being able to look around and experience what life was like there and just being submerged in the environment. To me, that feels a more powerful way to learn than just trying to comprehend what you're learning in a textbook.
That sounds exciting. Thank you, John. Corey.
So I think it's more fun to use technology than writing with pencils and paper because, I mean, it's more interactive, and I bet you a kid would rather use technology to learn something than writing down words and stuff. And, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Corey. Angelique.
So when I saw the list of what makes the ultimate school, it was funny because Chantilly at least had like almost all of those things. Like we were like fortunate enough to have like Chromebooks, and we have online apps that we can access Google Classroom and Blackboard. And I remember in sophomore year, we were actually able to use virtual reality for English class because, as you know, not every student learns the same way. And I think that's something to keep in mind because some of us are visual learners. And when we were reading Shakespeare, Shakespeare is kind of a complex writer, I guess you could say. And it was hard for some of us to really visualize where the setting was. And through virtual reality, we were able to go back in time to Europe to see where the play was taking place. And that really helped the students visualize what was happening, where it was happening, and ultimately threw us into a learning evolution, I guess. Thank you.
I love that piece about the context, both in all the examples that have been given, this idea of understanding the context of what the learning experience is. So for Dr. Sovine and Ms. Loveglass, when we think about this vision, and I know I wasn't surprised with what Angelique said, for your districts, you're meeting a lot of those vision requirements. But is there anything that is the next step? So what's next sort of in the vision within your districts for where you would like to have things go?
Well, I believe the students have said it best. The virtual learning experiences are probably the best opportunities now and in the future. I know in Frederick, as we look to our facilities and how we're equipping our facilities and providing professional development for our teachers and students, as we design facilities, we're looking to create meaningful learning spaces. We just opened a new middle school with technology in mind. And as I mentioned earlier, teaching and learning should drive everything, and then technology as a resource. It's important that we have learning spaces that facilitate students getting together in face-to-face, collaborative, project-based learning experiences. At the same time, it's very beneficial through utilizing Chromebooks and other mobile devices so that students can also collaborate as well as teachers anytime, anywhere. So as we look to the future, it's important that we can continue to capitalize on the technology resources that allow teachers and students to collaborate anytime, anywhere.
I love that emphasis on collaboration. Thank you. Mary Beth?
Well, certainly, I agree. One of the things with our facilities, sometimes our facilities are not quite keeping up with the digital environment in terms of making sure we had enough power and those kinds of things that, in terms of making sure they can access a huge influx of new technology. So that's always an evolving kind of thing as we develop and we have new buildings and renovation and those kind of things. I think it's also one of the challenges that we have in Fairfax is that, we have over 200,000 devices just in our Fairfax County, and that's just the ones that Fairfax owns. We also have another about 80,000 devices on a typical day that are BYOD devices. So you have a very large infrastructure and ensuring that we have sustainable funding and those kind of things to refresh our technology and to make sure that we have the ability to continue to expand our network capacities and those kind of things to help make sure we have the infrastructure and the support to support a huge amount of technology in terms of and as we said, new technology comes every day. We'd love to be able to continually be able to afford the latest and greatest and everything that we have that's available out there. And that's a sustainable, education technology funding. And that certainly, as we have this audience here in the Congressional on Capitol Hill, to make sure that our things like E-rate and things like the Education Department and educational technology continues to be funded, because as you can see, our kids deserve it, and they are doing great things with the great technology that we're able to provide. And making sure we have that sustainable funding is, of course, a challenge in education in general, but certainly in the education technology world. So we do value very highly the partnerships that we have with all of our political leaders and our congressional leaders, and we do really, truly appreciate all the support you can give us in terms of our education and K-12 education.
And we're always happy to have this opportunity to showcase what the wonderful things are that are happening with those sort of investments that are being made. Now, I've got a million questions for this panel, as you can only imagine, but I did want to give our audience that's here in Washington, D.C. an opportunity to ask a question or two. So is anyone here have a question? Diane. So the question, this is for our virtual audience, is asking the students if they have a voice in the direction of the use of technology in their school. Do they feel that they have a voice? Do they have an opportunity to share their ideas? I think Natalie had a response.
One of the things that our county has provided, and Dr. Sovine has helped us with especially, is he's facilitated a student leadership council, which is students serve as a liaison between the school and the teachers and him as the superintendent and the school board itself. And Camden and I have both been able to serve on that, and we have through that, we've been able to design the new Frederick County website for our school system. We've been able to give feedback, what we think is going well and what we think needs some more work within our county. And that's been one of the biggest helps within our county to having our voice heard, and especially with the school board level.
Good.
The year that I did it, I was in 8th grade, and they were in the process of building a new middle school. And with that came new technology. We were getting Chromebooks with the one-to-one initiative. So it was almost all about technology. We talked so much and had our voices heard, what we thought was the most important thing to be able to access with the Chromebooks, with Google Classroom. Technology was one of the biggest things that we covered on that council.
I'd like to poll our students that are here. Do you think, and some of you are seniors, and some of you are still in high school, and Corey is in 5th grade, have you had an opportunity to share an idea that you had about technology use with teachers or with an administrator? Raise your hand if you've had that opportunity. So it looks like pretty much everybody has. Okay, that's good. One of the things that we do encourage is, obviously with Speak Up, is not only the opportunity to collect that data, but then to be able to use it in meaningful ways. And so we believe that Speak Up does help provide that voice as well. Did we have another question? Brian.
With all this technology, connectivity is a huge issue. What are the roadblocks that you're running in at the leadership level of getting all these devices connected?
So the question was about connectivity, which comes out loud and clear in the survey results as well, the criticality of connectivity. So for the administrators, what sort of roadblocks are you encompassing, or do you have some solutions to those roadblocks?
It's absolutely a real issue that needs more attention. Actually, in last year's Student Leadership Council, it was a point of issue, and we are in a large county, but also we have some very rural areas where access is not available to students. We are working aggressively as a division to address those issues in terms of providing access points, partnering with, expanding access points at the school with extended hours and so forth, also partnering with businesses to provide Wi-Fi hotspots. We're also exploring opportunities through our school buses, providing hotspots as students are traveling on the buses and so forth. But the reality is it still creates a void at night if you're that student that lives an hour or so away from the school or from other businesses. So we're still aggressively trying to pursue opportunities to increase connectivity. Our technology staff is phenomenal. As I mentioned, as you've heard, we're a Google division, so we pull information and we go offline utilizing some of those resources so that students can use that if there are connectivity issues at their home and so forth. We try to increase awareness from a teacher and administrator standpoint so that time is spent both before the school day and certainly during the school day to support those students that may not have access at home, but it is a real issue that deserves more attention both in the state of Virginia and nationally.
You will see that in your packet, if you haven't already noticed, we're releasing today a new infographic on the homework gap, on the digital equity situation in terms of what districts say they're doing to address it. And there was a lot of the things that Dr. Sovine already mentioned. Mary Beth?
We publish every year what we call internet access maps, so all the, by pyramid, like a high school, a middle school, and the feeder elementary schools, and all the various locations within that neighborhood that's available for internet access. We also, as I mentioned before, do issue MiFis for those students that may not have access to them, but one of the things that would be fabulous is if MiFi devices were e-ratable. They're currently not e-ratable. That would be a fabulous thing. That would be a very simple thing for a legislative agenda item that I would love to have you all sponsor, is to allow home internet access, those that are sponsored by the school districts, to be eligible for E-rate funding. That would be awesome.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we're going to hold questions at this point, folks. We'll take a little bit more at the end, and I'm reserving the right to have the last question with my panel. But what I want to do now is introduce you to my very good friend and colleague, Angela Baker, who's the director of the Wireless Reach Initiative at Qualcomm. If you are not familiar with the Wireless Reach Initiative at Qualcomm, which has been in place now for over 10 years, you should definitely be involved with them. We've been partnering with Qualcomm's Wireless Reach Initiative since 2007 in looking at innovative ways to address both the use of mobile devices and wireless technology to impact learning. And so I am so thrilled that Angela was able to come today to share a couple closing remarks with us. Angela.
I'm glad I'm here too, because I'm very pregnant, so I promise I won't deliver today. But it's always tough to go at the end, especially after this event, because the student panel is so interesting. But I think I'm really encouraged by what I hear, especially working for a technology company. And I'll give you a little background on Qualcomm if you're not familiar with us. But I think the really interesting thing is just to hear the type of technology you all are interested in using. I want to say, we're working in virtual reality and some of these technologies. We're doing programs in Myanmar with virtual reality. So it's definitely possible in the US as well. And I'm sure, as I heard, as Angelique said, I think that we're also doing them in Virginia. But so the capabilities are there, and I think the great thing is to hear that the teachers are excited about it, administrators are excited about it, and students are excited about it. So I just have a few notes. I know we're sort of wrapping up here, but if you're not familiar with Qualcomm, we're a technology company that was started about 30 years ago in San Diego, founded on breakthrough technology in wireless communications. So we design the brains inside of your phones, your tablets, your mobile devices, virtual reality. We allow your devices to make a phone call, to search social media, to connect to the internet, play digital games. And we believe that access to advanced wireless technology can improve people's lives. So the initiative that I run is called Qualcomm Wireless Reach. It's Qualcomm's Strategic Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative. And we look at how our technologies can be leveraged for social impact globally. So the company's been around for a little over 30 years. Wireless Reach has been around for about 10 years. And in that time, we've worked with 650 different organizations, governments, nonprofits, social enterprises, in over 100 programs in 47 countries around the globe. And to date, we've reached 11 million people through our technology. And we've done that in the areas of education, health, entrepreneurship, public safety, and the environment. So we're working with governments primarily on their policy initiatives. Certainly, we have a number of programs. We've worked with Project Tomorrow in the US on education initiatives. And as you might expect, many governments across the globe have education technology goals. They're trying to bring more technology in for the reasons you heard today. They want to give their students access, kids in Nairobi the same access as kids in New York City, and help build their teachers' capacity for learning and teaching. So our education portfolio is the largest one to date out of those 5 issues that I mentioned. And we've got 45 programs in 17 countries globally, many of them here in the US. And the programs serve about 250,000 students globally. And what we do is we provide funding for schools or social enterprises or whomever's working in these schools. And we bring in partners like mobile operators, right, because the connectivity piece is huge, device manufacturers, because even though we create the technology that's inside the devices, we don't actually manufacture the devices. Mobile app developers for things that will be leveraged within the school. And many of our programs start as small pilot projects, and then they grow and scale, a lot of times because we've been working with the government, to get that buy-in, right? Because it's hard to do an education program unless the government and the administrators and the local teams are sort of bought into it. And then we help to try to scale those nationally or even internationally in some cases. So as Julie said, we've been a partner of the Speak Up survey for the last number of years. And one of the data points that I thought was really interesting was of the 37,000 teachers that responded to the survey in 2016, I think Julie had this up earlier, but 75% of them said that mobile device usage in the classroom increases student engagement. And I think what you heard from the students today is that they all want more technology. So that's sort of a win-win for a tech company, right? So more mobile devices, more technology. 65% of teachers said it prepares students for college and work. And I think you heard that certainly on the Microsoft suite of applications, and there's a number, or the Google suite of applications, there's a number of platforms, but I mean, the kids are right. Like, I just did a lot of budget process and budget prep in Excel. So a lot of the platforms that they're using are training them for the work of tomorrow. I think the other really interesting piece was collaboration. You know, whether you're working with kids remotely, if you're working with classes that are in other countries, if you're working with a student who's had to stay home because they're sick. I mean, that's the way people work in the real world, right? I sit in Washington, D.C., but my team's in San Diego or China or India or wherever they're sitting. So I think having the ability to do those sort of collaboration tools is really important. 51% of teachers said it increases access to online content. That's sort of a no-brainer. And 48% said it facilitates collaboration, which is really important. So I just want to put a quick human face on this, because as I said, we're working internationally. And one of the things I want to mention is a program that we're doing in Kenya. There's a student there, his name's Albert. His favorite subjects are math and English. And we're working there. He first got a device in 2013, so not that long ago, about 4 years ago. Probably most of the people on this panel have had a device for a long time. He goes to the Embakasi Garrison Primary School in Nairobi. And we're working with the Kenyan government there on the Power of M Learning program. And what it is there's a national exam in Kenya that all students have to take in primary school. And we're helping to digitize that content through the use of games, through the use of mobile apps. And the program solution takes the Kenyan curriculum, so the one that's mandated by the Kenyan government, from textbooks. It adds interactive content, engaging and locally contextualized videos, so we're working with local Kenyan developers to help create that content. Animations, songs, games, as Julie mentioned, digital games are really important, and quizzes, and then it's made available through 3G-enabled tablets. So much the same way that kids in the US are learning, kids in Kenya are learning as well. And the participating students in the program have been excited to use the mobile devices for learning. One of their main goals has been to achieve better results on that national exam that they're given. And the program, because of the success, of the early success of the program, we're now working with the DigiSchools initiative, which is working to train teachers across Kenya, because as we said, those things sort of go hand in hand. You can't just give the devices to students. You have to spend a lot of time on professional development and teacher training. So as of January 2017, so earlier this year, 500 students and more than 40 teachers who were participating in the program have used devices on a regular basis. And I think the really important thing to note is the same way you or I use our phone or our tablet, you can't just use it in the classroom, you also have to use it outside of the classroom. So it's really important for both in and out of the classroom learning. And due to the impact, the mean nationwide test score at the Embakasi Garrison School on this exam has gone up by 5%. So we've seen an increase, which is obviously a goal of the government's, right, to increase the average on that test. And as for Albert, his use of the tablet has helped him to continue to excel in mathematics, and he's really interested in becoming an architect and giving back to Kenya and helping to develop the country. So we've seen some really positive results there. I just want to mention one other program, which is with Sesame Workshop, so Sesame Street. This is aimed at younger kids in India. So it's called the Play and Learn program. And we're working with kids ages 5 to 8. The initiative has provided evidence that technology can accelerate learning, which I think we've seen from the results today. But some of the interesting things are children who are using the game. So it's a suite of games that kids are using, and these are kids that are not in traditional school for the most part because they're pretty young. They have improved their word comprehension and their language comprehension and their imagination. I don't know how you measure that they're improving imagination, but 2 times more than children who were not exposed to the games. And interestingly, in the Hindi reading, which Hindi, obviously the local language, and comprehension was 4 to 5 times higher than kids that had access to the digital games. And we also saw school attendance. So for those who are in traditional school, school attendance did improve. So as I think the Blackboard folks said, kids are more interested in learning that way when they have access to technology and they don't necessarily want to go out for recess, or they want to make sure that they're at school because they don't want to miss out. And teachers felt more comfortable using the technology. So I just want to leave you with one statistic from the Speak Up research that we're really encouraged by at Qualcomm, which is that 92% of 6th to 12th grade students think it's important for them to use mobile devices in their learning, and 71% of parents agree with that sentiment. And as a technology company, Qualcomm agrees wholeheartedly. So thank you.
And I was happy to see you come in the door today, Angela, because I know the baby's due soon. So, as I said, I'm going to reserve the judgment for the last question. I'm going to share. Camden, did you have a point?
Something I wanted to bring up about that, the last presenter.
Oh, sure. Go
If
ahead.
you don't mind me.
Yeah, absolutely, Camden.
Right now, there is an astronomical call for unity worldwide, and things like that where we're trying to outreach to students all over the world. Parents, teachers, administrators, students, and technology, all those things are going to dismantle the barriers that are obstructing us from reaching that unity that we so want. So I encourage everybody in this room, everybody who's watching online, keep doing what you're doing, and let's bring the whole world together, man.
I love that, Camden. Thank you. Thank you, Camden. Thank you so very much. So what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to share just a couple little closing, sort of sum up some housekeeping things. And then I've got one final question for the panel before we let you go and let you get back to your day. But I'm going to prep them, okay? So I'm going to give them the question up front so they can think about it. So this is almost like a test, okay? So when you think about the use of technology to help learning, and this is for everybody, adults and students, what is one word that you think of? Okay, so think about one word that sort of sums up for you the impact of the use of technology on learning. So I'm going to give you some time to think about that. Okay? Everybody got their assignment? Okay. So just a couple housekeeping things here. A lot more data is available on our website. I hope you will bookmark this as a resource, tomorrow.org. Easy to remember. It's part of our nonprofit mission to get our research data into the hands of thought leaders, education leaders, different types of policymakers to really impact policies and programs as well as funding. And so please take advantage of that. One of my favorite pieces is also in your packet. It's our top 10 things everyone should know about today's students in digital learning. So I hope you take advantage of that. In addition to that, I want to give all of you a homework assignment, which is to support schools' participation in Speak Up. We talked here about the value of the data, and thank you so much to both Dr. Sovine and Ms. Loveglass for your endorsements of the Speak Up project. I hope more schools and districts have the opportunity to participate in Speak Up. So in whatever walk of life that you're involved with, I hope that you have the opportunity to support your local schools in terms of their participation. So with that, I'm going to go back to this question. Who has come up with one word that they would like to use? Corey?
I think it means exciting because everyone doesn't know what's coming next and everyone's excited to know what's on the way for technology.
So that's our first word, exciting. Okay. Another word? John?
Opportunity.
Okay?
Not only for, sorry, what the opportunity technology has given for myself, but it's also been able to enhance my school, enhance my county, and all the students within it, and then also just students around the world. If you think about not just something as learning new skills, but also if you have a question, you can get the answer to that question within 2 to 5 seconds within a proper network. But
With proper infrastructure.
yeah.
Thank
But
you,
just
John.
the opportunity that technology provides us for our learning is really what's gonna help all students in the future, really.
So we have exciting and we have opportunity. Another word? Jade?
I think that I'd have to say all-encompassing, because in technology, it's in all walks of, all subjects, I guess. And it's not just in school, but it's extracurriculars, it's before school, after school. Technology is just everywhere.
Okay, all-encompassing, we got it. Angelique?
I would say revolutionizing. I believe that technology is going to change how we learn, how we perceive the world, and it's just going to be the biggest game changer that we've encountered in a while. I feel like you don't need to be the smartest IT person to involve technology in your life. You just have to have the willingness to step out of your comfort zone.
Okay, thank you. Mary Beth?
I was going to say imagination, because we don't even know what's coming next, and so it's very exciting to even just to dream about what might be next in terms of technology and virtual reality, so.
And be open to that.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Sovine?
Engagement makes
Engagement.
learning fun and exciting. We've heard our panelists talk about, especially our students, how important it is for their learning to be meaningful, and it should relate to their real-world experiences. So I think technology opens that door so the learning experiences can be very engaging for our students.
Engagement, great. Natalie?
Impact. Technology has changed the way we learn and the way we perceive everything. It's just made such a big impact on all of our lives, the panelists, and I'm sure all of the audience as well.
Okay, great. So we have quite a list of words. We have exciting, opportunity, all-encompassing, revolutionizing, imagination, engagement, impact. Wow, that's pretty powerful. Please join me in thanking my fabulous panel. Now, this fabulous panel wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the help of some very, very good friends that we have. And so I want to give a shout out to Diane Harrison, Brian Hackett, and Andy Jacks from Prince William County Public Schools, Rod Carnell from Frederick County Public Schools, and Derek Kelly from Fairfax County Schools. Thank you so much for your contributions. Well, this has truly been my pleasure to have the opportunity to be able to present some of the data and also to learn, for me to learn from this fabulous panel. Thank you again to Katie and Tim for joining us, and Angela for joining us, and for all of our sponsors and partners who support Speak Up. It is truly our privilege to have the opportunity to do this work. We'll stick around for a little bit, folks. I know we didn't get to all your questions, but thank you so very much for joining us today.